Hey everybody, welcome. Josh RV Nerd with Bish's RV down here at Grand Design today with the 2800 Imagine. This is an early 26 release. There are updates expected. I know the lighting's going to change, the flooring's going to change. So keep in mind, this is kind of a little bit of a preview of what's coming this season, but a very tried and true floor plan. Heck, you don't have to look really hard. Every builder and their brother builds a floor plan like this. But Imagine was pretty much the first to kind of popularize it here in the modern era. So what is it about this one that has maintained popularity despite so many clones, copycats, inspired models, you could say? There's a bunch of fine little details, like the way that they went about their storage, the little revisions they've made around the bunk area. It's a bunch of little things that add up on this one. One of the more interesting qualities here is it has a kind of convertible dinette. It's not as obvious. A lot of times if you just look at the floor plan schematic when you're shopping for this RV, you think it's just a U dinette, but it's a little bit smaller than a common U dinette. The rear bench though is free floating. It's like a floating ottoman. So if you want to kick it in front of the sofa or just take it out of the RV or whatever you want to do, it just gives you a little more function. It has awesome storage really throughout the whole camper, but especially in that true queen bedroom, which is very privatized. With the second door, you'll be able to access all the critical stuff for travel functionality. The bunks are right by the door. The bathroom's right next to the door. So if the kids are in and out, in and out, in and out all day, they're not really tracking dirt through the whole RV. Very solid extended season weather package on this one as well. Big drop frame front storage compartment and a bunch of other cool things. But it's also got some weirdness, like I told you about some of the weirdness on the dinette. When the slide closes, you're going to have to go in or out both doors to get to everything. Overall, though, very, very solid model. I'd love to hear what you think here. And again, keep in mind, watch for future releases in the Imagine family that will supersede some of what you're seeing here today. To help give you some bearings, if you wake up in the morning, the clock gives out a warning, you don't think you're going to make it on time, well, you might be saved by the bell. But we are standing basically in the bedroom doorway currently to give you a little reference point right here. Now, it kind of looks like that Maxell Tapes Entertainment Center where you got the recliner straight across from the TV. Being fair, this TV is mounted up awfully high, so you are looking upwards. When you're in the theater seat and you're reclined, it's not bad. Otherwise, it does feel a little awkward, but I don't know that I go bunkhouse camping to watch TV, but I also don't camp in a camper this fancy. This ain't camping. Like, this is glamping. This is comfort. You know, let's be real about it right here. And again, keep in mind there are some updates coming. Like, the lighting package is going to change away from the Tron lights that we're looking at. The flooring, the covering, the floor coloring and everything that we're looking at is going to be changing. I've been told there's some pretty significant updates coming. I just don't have full clarity on those. Now, that you're like, why is there a footrest in front of the theater seat? Well, you have an optional hide-a-bed available here. If you get a hide-a-bed and you still want to kick your feet up, this floating ottoman that normally is positioned back here, pretending like it's a U dinette, even though it's not, that is included whether you get the theater seat or the hide-a-bed. So no matter what, you actually have a comfy padded way to kick your feet up, and that does have a little flip top for storage on it. One of the other things that's actually kind of nice right here is this armrest can drop down. So right now we're in cuddle compliant mode, but if you want to drop that down to access the USB chargers or cup holders, or just if your partner's being a little clingy and you need some space, you can kind of make that happen. These are all blackout roller shades, and I'll give you a demo of this in a minute, but notice just the simple, clean kind of covering that they have over the roller. They don't do one of those big cardboard and fabric leftover things with a bajillion million staples applied to them. They just make that a little bit more cleaner execution. Speaking of which, they've been playing around with this bunk area a little bit. Now, they're still not offering what I call the move bunk, get out the way cargo system, because I think there's a water heater under the bunks in the back. But I do like how they treat the bunks. First of all, they give you a light switch on the right side that adults can reach from the ground level, so that when it's time for lights out, kids, you can do that. But in the hollow wall construction between the bed and the bunk rather and the bathroom, they create a little pocket. Now they do one of those for the upper and lower bunks. They really provide very even treatment for the two. And they give you separate curtains for the two. Although if you pull that bottom curtain, you're really limiting your AC airflow down there. The top bunk, if you privatize it, it has its own AC vent. So keep that in mind. Your, that pocket right there, that big open area, I think could be really handy for like dog beds. A lot of people camp with cats now. People are like, why are you always talking about cat litter boxes? A lot of people camp with cats now. I don't think the average person realizes how common cat camping has become. It's not this uncommon, oh, that's interesting, weird thing. What's a little bit weirder, sorry, I'm trying to sit down here and not slip and fall. What's a little bit weirder is my dog. My dog is actually litter box trained, which makes people's brains bleed when I say, they're like, what? But it's no different than teaching your dog to do its business in one space versus another. What's really nice is that I can leave the house for the day, set out food and water for the dog, and it doesn't crap all over, and it doesn't die. How cool is that? My dog's practically a cat. It's awesome, except my dog doesn't shed. It's one of these fancy designer breeds called a Coton de Tulier. It looks a lot like a Bichon, and he is the friendliest little dude with the worst separation anxiety. His name is Carlos McGillicuddy, and I love that little idiot. Now, when you convert this into a sleeper, you really do want to put that little floating bench ottoman back there. One of the things about that elliptical base table, it does provide, like, you're actually still sitting on those table legs. So it actually is a better supported sleeper dinette as compared to most that you encounter. Notice again, we've got the blackout roller shades demonstrated. I pulled that bedroom sliding privacy door there just to kind of give you a little bit more of a better look at that. I appreciate the shelves in the overhead cabinetry here, basically doubling the amount of counters or cabinet space that we have. I'm looking at the counters, and my brain goes, counter. The counters in this, even in the bathroom, by the way, are solid surface. And you don't get that through all Imagines, only the full Imagine series. Basically, if it has a nose cap in that barreled interior ceiling, you're going to have solid surface counters, just to help you kind of identify which ones are which. Laminated wall RVs aren't really good about putting outlets where you want them, but the interior walls are hollow constructed walls, a little more like your house. Not identical, but a little more. And that gives them the ability to put the outlets where you want them. Pardon my little neon green juice over there. I'm actually a little surprised with the different models where Imagine is really good about giving us trash can space that they haven't done that here. But I think what I would do is when I get to my destination, I'd pop that countertop extension open, and I'd probably just slide the trash can under that. But again, the really creative but effective storage solutions they offer here are awesome. That's perhaps the biggest pots and pans drawer I think I've seen in almost any RV, even including giant fifth wheels. And those little light bright wooden dowel pegs right there, allowing you to like put stuff in and then trap it in place in that big drawer so it's not slamming around. That is just using your dipstick, Jimmy. That's just an extra level of thought. That's somebody went camping and their cabinetry was destroyed. You know, all the stuff was all over the place when they got there, and they said, nah, never again. TV doesn't drop down, but it can pivot around. So if you're sitting at the dinette or have the kids over here, you can keep them sufficiently entertained. The stereo system is basically all Bluetooth. There's no like DVD function where I can't remember the last time I saw an RV with an actual DVD system. It just seems like streaming media has really kind of taken over. I really like those double drawers pulling that storage up. Holy cow, we got a big old rig parking over here. It's probably my next order of business. Don't want to miss the fact that behind the TV here, they actually do have this extra pocket of space. I think, you know, hats, gloves, stuff like that could be kind of handy there. I want to point out that both of your entry doors do have the privacy shades auto-integrated into them. And this is an easy thing to miss down here. Again, though, it's the thought and the consideration that went into it. They had some space. They realized inside of the construction there was enough room for a couple drawers, so why waste it? But the thing is, normally, drawer handles, they'll rip your legs up. And this is an entry area. So they added a couple aircraft style latches specifically in this location to avoid that little challenge right there. Again, smart. I'm also very glad that they haven't invented smell-o-vision yet for YouTube, because it is sweltering hot in this thing. I am just sweating like a pig. That phrase always makes me laugh, because pigs' skin lacks sweat glands the way that ours do. That's why they roll themselves in mud. That's how they control their temperature. So sweating like a pig, I looked it up one time. It doesn't matter. You don't care. You probably don't care. I think it has more to do with like cooking a pig. Windows in the bathroom, I would probably never have that shade open. But it really, I always say church is up the joint. It just looks nice in here, you know what I mean? Now, here's a cool thing. The RV has a 6.5-foot sidewall. Normally, my head would be way up in that skylight. But you might notice from this footage, my 6-foot-plus frame is doing just fine. It gets close, but I'm able to manage. Because of that barreled ceiling, it makes just enough of a difference that I don't have that hiccup right there. Now, the porcelain foot flush stool seems to be a little more preferred kind of thing. Very, very fluffy, friendly space here. And instead of leaving that space open, I love that they threw some doors on this so that, like, you know, this is the back of the RV. If you have a bunch of, I don't know, shampoo and toilet paper rolls or whatever in there, they're not going to bounce all over and end up on the floor. And once again, remember, this is solid surface countertop, and I think that's, it's, what's that called? Like a stone cast sink or something like that. It's like, it can handle like, basically water, boiling water could be poured in that. It's not going to hurt it, is kind of the thing that I'm getting at here. I mentioned these earlier, but to give you an up-close personal look, just, I love that clean execution of the window treatment. It doesn't have to be fake. The other thing is it's metallic. So I think it might be magnetic, although if it's a powder-coated aluminum, that might not be the case. I'm not 100% sure there. I also don't think I ever demonstrated the theater seat function, but there you go. Cool thing with the dinette, they add a couple extra USB plugs there for the theater seat, so you don't necessarily always have to bring down the armrest. And I got a little distracted by all the kitchen storage, so I realized we probably need to get up here into the bedroom. Let's begin with the fact that we do have a 60 by 80 inch true queen. So you go get any old residential queen bed, she's going to fit right in here. And actually swapping out the mattress in this floor plan is pretty easy. I've helped several customers do that over the years. It's not a real big challenge. It's not a big mega ask. This is 50 amp. We are second air capable. You see that it's not been installed on this one, but you see that sticker with a little orange print? It's basically telling you, hey, there's some really high voltage wiring in here. Don't go poking around in this with a butter knife, you know. That sticker's probably there thanks to an incident involving my nearly late Uncle Gary. Never mind that. Uncle Gary always has a way of getting lawyers involved. That box that you're looking at, it actually slides on that black runner, so you can kind of, you know, move it from side to side. It just gives you an extra layer of storage. Overall, I think that Imagine has near perfect execution of their bedroom storage. The overhead doors above the bed defy gravity, fully enclosed. They allow full access with no dead pockets for the storage. Both sides of the bed, by the way, have the double dresser drawers that we're looking at right here. The bed was in the way of the other side. You also do have a light switch right as you enter the bedroom. I don't think this will cause a flicker on screen, but some folks are photosensitive, so 1, 2, 3. That is just the off position, but they are on a dimmer as well. And I like that you don't have to climb on the bed to turn the lights off. One of the things with this floor plan, though, is it does have a hitch in its giddy up that's pretty significant for some people's preferences. And that comes in the form of what I refer to as two-stage travel access. With the slide closed, you're going to need to employ that second entry door into the bedroom to get up there. Now, basically, pretty much all of your, by the way, make sure you fold down that solid surface countertop extension, lest you feel like breaking something anyway. That doesn't sound like an awesome day. So from the front door, you can get to the bedroom. From the door in the back of the camper, you can get to the bunks, the bathroom, the kitchen. So it has a lot of travel functionality, but you got to kind of do the two-door, two-step to be able to get through this thing. Hopefully that's helpful for you. If not, you know, skip ahead in the video. No big deal. Now, the big question on a camper like this, can my half-ton tow it? I get that question all the time. Can my half-ton tow this? But rarely do people ever tell me about their half-ton. The problem is, half-tons are the most widely variant tow vehicle out there in terms of towing and payload capacities. A late model tow package half-ton going shorter distances over flatter, more modest terrain. There's potential here. You want to go through a heavy wind corridor. You want to go up and down mountains. You want to go screaming down the highway at top speed. You're going to be a lot happier towing this with a 3/4 ton. So this is one of those cases where you go matters just as much as the vehicle in question. Again, solid window coverage on what some folks would consider the wrong side of the RV, but we kind of talked about that on the inside. Rack and pinion slide system. We do have a drop frame front storage compartment up here, which also does have a simple but effective enclosed docking center, a little bit more like a fifth wheel in that regard. Now, this little black box on the left, that's actually prepped for a tire pressure monitoring system. It's essentially just plug and play. And if a stupid goofball like me, who is not experienced with using a bunch of tools and things, can install and sync up that TPMS system, I feel very confidently you likely can too. It is not a complicated experience by any stretch of the imagination. Sometimes people will ask, why do they have two different types of steps on this RV? Why did they go cheap on the front one? This was done intentionally, because these steps, if the front steps were like the back steps and they folded into the RV, the steps would be rubbing against your bedding, and some people don't want steps that you walk on with your feet outside rubbing on their mattress. So it was done intentionally. And again, that second entry door giving you the travel access, but also think about this. Think of where the bunks are in this RV, all the way in the back, well, the back left as we're looking at it right now, all the way on the left. If you come and go from that entry door on the left-hand side and the kids are trying to sleep, you're going to wake them up. They're not going to sleep well. They're going to be whiny tomorrow. Then nobody has a good time. That second entry door allows you to put the kids to bed and then kind of hang out by the fire and just do adult stuff, you know. Now, this is a big awning. Notice that center support in the awning? That's a dead giveaway that this is a big honkin' awning is the technical terminology for that. But over here, there's a lot of value wrapped up in just this frame right here. So first of all, in the middle, they have a MORryde shock dampening suspension package. That's very rare in travel trailers. Not exclusive to Imagine, but very, very rare. Goodyear Endurance radials are a nice touch. And you see the red behind the wheels there, behind those aluminum wheels. That's telling us that this has anti-lock braking and electronic anti-sway, both. So this is something that has upgraded ride and handling, which is not something you commonly encounter in the travel trailer market. There are, I can think on one hand the number of travel trailers that standard have that level of treatment on their ride and handling. There's not many. Like Cougar, wow, I'm actually kind of struggling to come up with more than that. I know there's a few, but geez, it's rare. Dad's medicine cabinet on the right for the bottled water and the barley pop, as it were. Then we got the old griddle station here. It is a larger griddle, which is nice. If you are going to be doing some cooking for a big family outdoors, you have a little more cooking space to make that happen. One of the things, though, if I get this little splatter action shield out of the way, this little shelf, those power outlets, really, really handy, whether it's phone charging or Bluetooth speaking or whatever. You might also notice how this baggage door has that gray backside on it, whereas the front baggage door just has a smooth white fiberglass. That's because the rear baggage door, it's a more fire-resistant material. Now, those grills and griddles on RVs, they're a low output system. They don't produce the kind of heat that's like going to melt fiberglass. People really seem to think that's going to happen. It doesn't. But it doesn't matter whether I tell you that or not. If that worry is in your head, maybe knowing that it's a more flame retardant system will give you a little more peace of mind. and you can always get a different kind of grill or griddle situation to you know, pull it further away from the RV. Easy to miss down here. You do have a 2-inch receiver hitch, which is handy because you might notice this does not have a bumper. Here, how about this? People who didn't ask the question, a question I commonly get: why are manufacturers more commonly removing bumpers on their campers? There's several reasons, but one of the main ones is length. The length that they are required to publish is from the tip of the tongue to the back of the furthest fixed object. But somehow ladders don't qualify for that designation, so the ladders don't count as part of the length. So keep that in mind if you're trying to park this thing in the barn. You got to account for the ladder too. But the bumper does. So by chopping off the bumper, they save a little weight, a little cost, and this thing can read like 6 inches shorter on a brochure. That's the real answer as to why bumpers have been slowly disappearing from the industry. It's a marketing advantage. So as I always do, I'll leave you some links in the video description where you can double check pricing, availability, and other builders who have made their own versions of this floor plan. And there's some really good ones out there. I would always encourage you, before you spend this kind of money, take a look. You got nothing to lose except a lot of money. Let's make sure you get the right one for the things that you're looking for. You know what I mean? And short of that, thanks again for tuning in. Hit subscribe, and maybe we'll see you next time. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.